Hey guys, it's me Daniela, and I'm not going to do my regular intro just because I'm going to warn you now that this video is going to be a long one. This probably is going to be the longest video that I will ever upload. Basically, there is no way for me to condense the story down into 10 minutes or 20 minutes or even 30 minutes. It's going to be a long one. So much happens in this story, but I've been wanting to share this story forever. So only watch this video if you truly have time, because if you don't watch the full video, the story isn't really going to make sense. So grab your popcorn and let's get into this doozy of a story. So today I'm going to be sharing my roommate horror story. Basically, this is the story of my experience with living in a dorm. This happened 4 years ago, and I did not have the best experience with my roommates. Honestly, me saying that sentence, that's an understatement, as you are about to find out. Basically, my roommates were super toxic. So this story isn't going to be like a bunch of like roommates trashing the room and all that. There's nothing really like that in the story. It's more that my roommates were just very toxic. They were not very nice, and it starts out, and when I start the story, it's not gonna sound like that bad, but trust me, it gets worse as the story goes on. So yeah, I have been wanting to make this video since this happened, but honestly, I have just been too scared to, because I have worried that like my ex-roommates are going to find this video and retaliate. But I think that enough time has passed, and I think that I can safely share this story now. I'm not going to be using their real names in this video, obviously, because I'm not trying to expose them. I'm just trying to share my experience. So yeah, and also if you happen to be one of my ex-roommates and you are watching this video, honestly, I highly doubt that they'll be watching this, but if you are watching this video and you are one of my ex-roommates, I would suggest maybe don't watch this video, or at least like don't comment on it and start anything in the comments, because you know, you're just gonna expose yourself if you do, and I'm keeping your identity private. So yeah, so you'd probably be better off not commenting on this video. So just wanted to put that out there in case the people that I'm about to be talking about happen to be watching this video, which I highly doubt, but you know, there's always a chance. Yeah, also this story is one of the reasons why I live alone now. I mean, I'm also a major introvert in general, and I just love living alone, but this story like really cemented like why I relish living alone now. Like, I live in my own apartment now. I have no roommates now, and I absolutely love it. And it's such a night and day difference from the experience I had 4 years ago. So anyways, without any further ado, let's get started with the story. So before I actually start telling the story, I need to kind of set the scene for you guys. So, basically, my dorm the dorm that I lived in my first year was, it was a suite style dorm. I don't know why I had to specify my first year, because that was the only dorm I lived in. After that year, I was done living in a dorm. But anyways, so it was a suite style dorm. And so that means that I had 3 roommates. I had one roommate who was like my actual roommate, who like I shared like an actual room with. And then I had my two suite mates who, they both shared the bedroom that was like connected, you know. So they shared like the adjacent bedroom in our unit. And basically the layout of my dorm was, when you walk in to our unit, you walk into the main common area, I guess, which is shared by all 4 roommates. And connected to the common area, you have, we had a bathroom, and it was a bathroom that was shared by all 4 of us. So I did not have like a communal bathroom that was shared by the entire floor. I had a single occupancy bathroom that was just shared by me and my roommates. So yeah, so we had our bathroom, we had like the room with the toilet and the shower in one room, and then across from that we had a separate room that had like the sink and stuff. I thought that was like a weird layout, but that's just how it was. I didn't really understand the point of having the 2 things separated, but anyways, yeah, and then you also have the 2 bedrooms, which are on either side of the main common area. So that was kind of the layout of my dorm. And so I shared this unit with 3 other girls, and so basically I went completely random with my roommates, which I do not recommend. But that's what I did. I went completely random with my roommates. So I had never met any of my roommates. I did not like meet them until, like, my first time meeting them was move-in day. So now here is the cast of the story, if you will. So so basically my actual roommate, the girl who I shared my bedroom with, we're gonna call her Rachel. So she was the girl who I shared my bedroom with, and she is actually the one of my roommates that I never really had a problem with, because she never really got involved in any of the drama, and she and I were like, we weren't BFFs, but you know, we got along well enough. At least I got along with her better than I got along with my 2 other suite mates, and she was polite enough to me. She did, in a lot of instances, take my suite mate's side when we got in like conflicts and stuff, but she was at least polite to me, which I cannot say about my 2 suite mates. So my 2 suite mates are the ones who I mainly have problems with. So my 2 suite mates, we're gonna call them Becky and Sarah. Okay, so Sarah, she is kind of Becky's enabler. She was so Becky was like the most toxic out of all of them. Becky was the one that I had the most problems with, and then Sarah was kind of like the enabler. She was not as bad as Becky, but she I was not very nice to me, and she basically, so Becky was kind of like the ringleader, and Sarah kind of like followed along, I guess. So yeah, so that was the cast of the story, and of course there's me. Okay, so let's actually get started with the story. So I actually have notes on my phone, so I make sure so I can be sure that I don't leave anything out. So we start off on move-in day, and this was before any problems really arose. And let me also just say, I was so excited to move into my dorm. Like, this was something I had been hyping myself up for, which is part of the reason why for a long time, like, I didn't want to accept the reality that I had faced, because I had kind of built up in my head the expectation that I was going to become BFFs with these girls and stuff, and I was just so excited, and yeah, and it just didn't work out the way that I was in for a rude awakening. And also part of also why I like was so hyped up about this was because this was around the time that like this was like this was around the time when like quarantine and social distancing was very much it was very much a thing that a lot of people were doing, and I was just excited to come out of quarantine. I guess not really, but you know, it kind of felt like coming out of quarantine to me, because like I spent so much time at home, and like I'm an introvert. I am a homebody, but like even I was like craving like social interaction at that time, because like we had been stuck at home for months, and so the fact that I was moving into my dorm, like I was just excited because like it was something new for me, and it's like it would I don't really know how to explain it, but I was just excited because like I had done online school for the past few months, and I was excited to get back to like some sort of normalcy, even if it wasn't fully normalcy. So yeah, so the fact that it just kind of ended up not really what I had planned was just not I just had a hard time like accepting that. But anyways, so move-in day, I was really excited for move-in day. I was just I was hyped up about it and all that. And so move-in day comes, and so my parents and my parents are helping me move into my dorm, and everything is going well. And Becky is there. She had arrived before me, and actually at first I actually thought she was nice. But I just hadn't seen her true colors yet. So anyway, but I actually thought like she was polite. Like she was even helping me because like I wanted to loft my bed, and she actually told me like where the lofting tools were. So like I thought in that moment she was actually helpful, but yeah, I was wrong. So move-in day goes well, you know, and then my other roommates, they moved in later that day, and there were no real problems, honestly. This is just where I'm starting the story because this was the first day that I met them. But I ate dinner in my room with Becky, or not Becky. Becky was kind of off doing her own thing, but my other roommates, Sarah and Rachel, I ate dinner in my room with them and just kind of talked with them, and I thought it was going great. So that was move-in day, you know. I didn't really have any problems just yet, and yeah, so then we get into the first problem, I guess. And this was about a week and a half later. This was during the first week of classes. So one night, my three roommates, they were hanging out in Becky and Sarah's room. And I decided to go and join them, and so I did. And so all four of us, we were just kind of sitting there just chatting, and I thought we were having like a really good time. And like I was telling them stories, like we were like talking to each other, telling each other stories, and like in this brief moment of time, like we were actually bonding really well, and I thought we were having a lot of fun. Little did I know that it was all about to fall apart. So we were just kind of sitting there, and it was around like midnight at this point, so we were all like up, and we were just kind of up late talking and stuff, you know, doing normal things, you know. And then at about 2 a.m. All three girls, they got up and left the dorm. And I was left behind. And I didn't, at first, like, I didn't know what they were doing. I guess like somehow I didn't get the memo. I still don't know how this happened, how I didn't like get the memo, because like all four of us, we were literally like sitting there talking, and so like you'd think like I should have, like if they were planning on going out, you know, like I should have gotten the memo, you know, like because you know I was with them. But they left the room, and I assumed that they were going to be gone for maybe a minute or two. You know, I thought they were, I don't know, maybe going to someone else's dorm to, like, I don't know, get something from, I don't know. I don't know what I assumed they were doing, but I thought they, like, for some reason, I assumed that they were going to be back in maybe a minute or two. So I didn't really think much of it. I was just like, okay, they're going to be back soon, you know. I didn't really think much of being left behind until they did not come back in a minute or two. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder what is going on and, like, why I was left behind. Because at this point, I'm realizing they didn't just leave for a brief moment. They left because they were going to go out and, you know, I don't know, like, just go out and just hang out together. And, you know, why was I not invited, you know? Like, just a moment ago, we were, like, all sitting there talking and stuff and having a good time. And honestly, like, I didn't really sense that they didn't want me to hang out with them, you know? Like, they seemed like I felt like I was welcome, you know. So I don't really, like, I didn't really understand it. So then, like, more time passes by, and I'm like, why? I was just like, why are they leaving me behind? And at this point, I started to feel a little bit hurt. Because, you know, like, you know, anyone would feel hurt if they're left behind. And we were all hanging out as roommates, and I was like, why didn't they want me to join them when they went out? I don't know. So then here is where I might have done something that I shouldn't have done, because I will admit, you know, I was not exactly a perfect angel either at all times with them. Like, I definitely did things that, you know, maybe I shouldn't have done. So I start to call them, because I wanted to know, like, what they were up to. And it's not like I was trying to be, like, their mom, but it was more of, like, why, like, what are they doing and why did they not invite me type of thing. So I called each girl, and they weren't picking up, so I kept calling them over and over again. And I realize now, like, that is, like, I shouldn't have done that. That probably came off as, like, annoying. Like, that was probably not very socially acceptable of me. And I realize that now, and I didn't realize it in the moment, but, yeah, I realize now, like, that was not cool of me to do. So I will definitely take responsibility for that. But I just couldn't understand why they left me behind. Like, what was wrong with me, you know? And so then I started to get a little bit bored, so I tried to amuse myself a little bit. And so I went on our dorm group me. So we had, like, a group me chat with everyone in the building. And so basically anyone who lived in the building could, like, join this group me. And so basically I went on the group me, and I said something that I made, like, a really stupid joke on the group me. It was mainly to amuse myself, but I don't think it was received very well. And it wasn't anything like, it wasn't a comment directed towards anyone. It was just, like, a stupid joke, but it might have come off the wrong way. And so then Becky, she saw it, and she didn't like that, and so she responded to me in a very snarky way. And then all of a sudden, I was booted from the GroupMe. At first I thought it was a glitch, because, like, I didn't get, like, a message that specifically said that I was blocked from the group, at least not immediately, but I just, basically what happened was, like, I was just booted out of the group with no warning or anything, and I tried to get back in it, and, like, it wasn't showing up in my, like, list of, like, groups or whatever. So then I tried to get back in it. I went, and I went back on, like, the Instagram, and I found the QR code, which is how I initially joined the group. And so I tried to join the group again, and then that's when I got a message that said, you're blocked from this group. So I'm like, oh no, someone kicked me out of the group. And the thing about GroupMe, if you didn't know this about GroupMe, the thing about GroupMe is that it's not just, like, the group moderators that can kick people out. Literally anyone can kick someone out of a group, which I hate that about GroupMe. I really hate that, because, you know, like, people can just kick anyone out for just the most petty reasons ever. And in my opinion, even though what I posted on the GroupMe maybe it wasn't taken the best way, and maybe it wasn't something I should have said, it was just like a stupid little remark, but also, like, I felt like being removed from the group was a little bit of an overreaction, because I didn't say anything, like, terrible. It was just maybe something that wasn't the most, like, appropriate or socially acceptable thing to say, but yeah, it was just, like, being kicked out just felt like, I don't know, I just felt like and the fact it was, like, without any warning either, I don't know, I didn't like that. So then I tried to get someone to invite me back, and I eventually did get back on. I got back on the next morning. Someone invited me back. Basically, if you get kicked out of a GroupMe chat, you can't get back on unless someone specifically invites you. So, yeah, but anyway, I'll get to that later. So then, so then finally, at around 4 a.m. or so, my roommates finally returned. And at this point, I was just so upset that they left me behind, but also, like, I'm not a confrontational person, so I didn't, like, confront them about it. I just kind of, like, I was just kind of in my own feelings about it, really. So then, once they returned, we all went to bed. And then the next morning, I woke up, and for some reason, I was still upset about what happened the night before. And this whole day, by the way, I was just not feeling myself at all that whole day. And I definitely think, you know, I might have overreacted a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have spent the whole day feeling upset about it, but I didn't confront them about it. It was just me feeling upset, like, in my own feelings, really. But, yeah, so I was still upset. So what is the most logical thing that Daniela can think to do in that moment? I called my dad. And I told him what happened, because I just wanted to, like, talk to someone. I don't really know. But, yeah, I called my dad, and he was like, Daniela, like, I know this sucks, but, like, you gotta get over it, you know, like, I don't know, he was just, you know, saying what parents would say in that situation. Not that he was invalidating my feelings, but, you know, he was trying to tell me, like, Daniela, like, you can't let this get in the way of your life, you know, you gotta move past it. So, which, honestly, like, that was what I should have done, but I was just not, I just couldn't, like, shake that feeling, and I was just upset the whole day. So then Yeah, so basically then I tried to go about my day, you know, I went to class and all that, but I just couldn't, like, pay attention in class at all. And then sometime that day, I finally was able to get back on the GroupMe, and I caught up with everything that had been posted on the group chat since I was kicked out, and it was not good. People were talking about me on the GroupMe, and also I found out who kicked me out. And it was Becky. Becky kicked me out of the GroupMe because she didn't like what the stupid thing I said, which, okay, fine, if she didn't like it, like, that's fine, but why react like that, you know? And I could tell, like, she didn't like me from the get-go, because, like, you know, who does that unless they don't like you, you know what I mean? So I got back on, and people were talking about me, like, they were, like, saying not very nice things about me, and it was just not good. And eventually, though, you know, people forgot about it. It was whatever. But yeah, that whole day was just not it for me. It was not, yeah. It was just not it. So then, we're gonna move on to the next, I guess, thing that happened. So basically, like, after that day of feeling upset, you know, the day after that, you know, I was basically back to my normal self and whatever. So it was just like, I don't know why I spent a whole day feeling upset about that, you know. I think that was a little bit stupid of me, but, you know, to be fair, I was adjusting to, you know, a new life, and I was, you know, adjusting to a lot of things, so I don't know. But anyways, the next thing that happens is about, like, a month and a half-ish later, you know. The next, like, few weeks, you know, are, I survived, you know, and nothing really that crazy happens until about a month and a half later, after the time that I was left behind and spent a whole day feeling upset about it. So the next thing that happened, so it's kind of a smaller thing, but it was just still something that kind of reminded me that I was not welcome in this group. So then, basically, one day, I was literally minding my own business to a T. Like, to a freaking T. I was just minding my own business. I was minding my own beeswax. And I was waiting downstairs in my dorm lobby for a DoorDash order, because I decided to DoorDash dinner that night, you know, for myself. Not for my roommates, just for myself. I never, like, ate meals with them. I literally would just eat meals, like, by myself. And I literally would just do my own thing, because as an introvert, that's what I like to do. So I was waiting on my DoorDash order, and while I was waiting for my DoorDash order, I happened to check Snapchat. And I saw Becky's Snapchat story. And on her Snapchat story is a short clip from the previous night of her and Sarah and Rachel at dinner together. And this really isn't the biggest deal, but when I saw that, I couldn't help feeling a little bit hurt that they all had dinner together and they didn't think to invite me. And yes, I know, I just said I'm an introvert and I like to do my own things. But at the same time, you know, it would have been nice, like, if they had asked me, if they had invited me to go to dinner with them, like, I would not have turned that down, you know. Like, as much as I like to do my own things, you know, I also like being invited places, and I would have enjoyed, you know, getting to go out to dinner with them and maybe another chance to bond with them. But they didn't think to ask me. None of them thought to ask me, and that just kind of hurt a little bit. I never did end up confronting them about it because, you know, I just didn't feel like it was worth it. And again, I'm just not like a confrontational person. I never even like mentioned anything to it. It was just like, I just saw that and I just couldn't help feeling a little bit hurt. I didn't spend a whole day this time being upset about it. It was just kind of in the moment, but I was just like, I just couldn't help it. And I had no idea, by the way, this, like, literally, I never would have known about this had I not seen this. Like, they didn't say anything about it, and this was fully, like, the next day. Like, I had no idea that they had even gone out to dinner, because they never invited me. So, I don't know. But I just kind of moved on from that, because, you know, it really wasn't that big of a deal. And also, like, I guess one could argue that, you know, people don't have to include everyone in everything, you know, like, people have their own social circles, and they stick to those social circles, and, you know, that's fine, you know. It would have been one thing if, like, it would have been one thing if these girls were, like, already best friends, but the thing is, they weren't. Like, they were also random roommates, you know. They didn't actually, Rachel and Becky happened to go to the same school, so they had already kind of known each other, but they were more acquaintances. Like, I had been told, like, one of them told me that they went to school together. But it's not like these three girls were already friends. Two of them, yes, they happened to know each other, but they were acquaintances. And, like, you know, this wasn't like, basically what I'm trying to say is this, like, this wasn't like a friendship that had been established before we moved in. And also, I was their roommate too, you know. And so I guess to me it would have made sense if, like, if the three of them were going to hang out as roommates, you know, it would have made sense for them to invite me too, because I was also their roommate. So, yeah, so I just wanted to say, like, yeah, I know people do have established friendships, and it's okay to stick to those friendships. I'm not going to try to, like, invite myself into an already established friend group, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not like that was the case here, you know. Like, they didn't hang out, all three of them together constantly, you know, until we became roommates. So it's just like, if they're gonna hang out as roommates, why not invite me? Do you get what I mean? So I don't know, but I just kind of moved past that moment, and, you know, it's just like, whatever, you know, like, it already passed, and it's not worth it to try and get upset about it, you know. I just kind of have to move on. So that's what I did. So basically the things that I've shared so far really don't sound that bad. It's really just been, so far, they just leave me out of things. But trust me, it gets so much worse, you know. It gets worse, you know. So just stay tuned, because it gets to a point where I'm just like, I can't even live with them anymore, you know. If it had just been like they were just leaving me out of things, like, I could deal with that, you know, but it gets worse, as you are going to find out as the story progresses. And actually, we're kind of at the point where it does kind of start to escalate a little bit, and it gets into things that are a little bit bigger deals than just leaving me out of things. So then a few weeks go by, and here is the next thing that happens. It's a few weeks later, and one day I'm chilling in my room, literally minding my own business. Like, at this point, I was kind of starting to accept that these girls were not people that I wanted to be friends with. And, like, I was kind of starting to realize that. And so, at this point, I stopped, like, trying to be friends with them. And I was really just trying to live my own life, do my own thing, and survive living with these girls, even if they were not the nicest. So I was chilling in my room one day and I was watching YouTube videos, literally minding my own business, like doing nothing but minding my own beeswax. And then I start to smell smoke. And I realized someone was smoking in our room. And I'm pretty sure I knew exactly who it was, because I happened to know that Becky was a smoker. She would often invite people over and smoke, or like hang out with people and like, you know, smoke. And, you know, I'm not one to judge that. You know, if you smoke, you do you. You know, I'm not gonna judge people who smoke. But please be considerate about it, and do not do it in the vicinity of people who don't want to be around that, you know? Because, like, I personally do not smoke. It's just not my thing. I would rather not smoke, but, like, I'm not gonna judge people who smoke. Like, you do your thing, you know, as long as it doesn't impact other people. But that, like, that's the catch, you know? Like, do it in a place where it's not going to negatively impact other people. And what makes this even worse is I literally, so back in the day, before all of this happened, back in the simpler times, when I was in the process of applying to this school and I was in the process of choosing my dorm and all that, I specifically requested a non-smoking room. I specifically requested to live with a non-smoker, or at least someone who's not going to smoke in the room, and that is not what I got. So I was smelling smoke, and I could tell, like, it wasn't like, you know, a case of, you know, someone accidentally burned mac and cheese or something. This was like someone was actually like smoking in the room. And so I happen to know that Becky was a smoker, and at first, like, I didn't, like, you know, I never really smelled anything in the room, so I assumed she was doing it, like, outside or whatever, which is fine, you know, but this particular night she was doing it in our room. And that, in my opinion, is, like, that's where it gets, like, it escalates, because, like, that's worse than just, you know, leaving me out of activities, you know, because at the end of the day, like, you don't have to include people in everything, you know, you're not required to. But when you're smoking in the room, like, when you're smoking inside, and, you know, you haven't, like, gotten the okay from everyone in that vicinity that they are okay with you smoking in there, that, in my opinion, is worse, because that actually negatively impacts people. And I think it should be reasonable. Like, I should be able to live in my room and, like, live in decent comfort. I feel like that's not unreasonable to ask, you know? But that, yeah, I just couldn't deal with it. So I went downstairs into the study room, and I went there to do my hanging out and minding my own beeswax, because I just could not deal with smelling smoke. And, like, at that point, that's when like, I honestly, like, I should have advocated for myself, and I should have, like, told them, like, hey, please do not smoke in the room. And I made the mistake of not doing that, because I'm not a confrontational person. Well, at least I didn't, like, directly tell them. But the next morning, I ended up texting on our group chat, not the group me, but our group chat that was just the four of us. I ended up texting on there, not specifically calling anyone out, but I texted on there, hey, so last night I smelled smoke, does anyone know what happened? And it, like, I didn't want to, like, directly call out anyone, but I just wanted, to see if anyone would, say something. But no one owned up to it. No one said, no one owned up to smoking in the room. So at that point, I just kind of let it go. But I was just like, leaving me out of activities is one thing, but smoking in the room is another thing, because, I should reasonably expect to live in comfort, that is, I don't know, that just wasn't cool. So then, the next incident kind of happens, it happened maybe a week or two later, and so one day I decided, and this is gonna sound really I know people who are watching this are about to scream at me once I utter this sentence, but it's the truth. But we never locked our door. None of us ever bothered to lock our door when we left our dorm. And I know that's just so dumb. Why would I that's I know that you're probably Daniela, why would you not lock your door? You're asking to get robbed. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't know why we never bothered to lock the door, but we never did. And around this time, I was talking to my parents about living in an apartment the following year, which is now the apartment that I live in. But my parents one day were asking me, Daniela, are you locking your door when you leave the room? Because if you're going to live in an apartment next year, you're going to have to lock the door so that no one breaks in. And I told them the truth. I was like, none of us ever locked the door. And my parents were like, Daniela, that's not good. You should probably start locking the door. So I did that. And I didn't think that I didn't think about, telling my roommates that I was going to be locking the door. Because, I didn't think I would have to do that. I thought it was common sense to bring your key with you, and yes, also it's common sense to lock your home door when you leave your home. That's common sense too, and we were not doing that. So, I should have known that common sense was not being practiced exactly here. But even though I never locked the door, I still would always carry my key in my purse or my backpack. I never left the key in my room, Actually, I did one time, but that was a one-time thing, and I forgot it that day. But generally, I always had my key with me, So I assumed that the other girls did too, and even if they didn't, it shouldn't be a problem because you can get a spare key at the front desk. But anyways, so one day I decided to follow my parents' advice and start locking the door because, I didn't want anyone to break in. I had a violin that I didn't want to get stolen because I'm a music major, so yeah, and I also had electronics, as did the other girls. And, I just didn't want any of our stuff to get stolen. So I go to class one day and I lock the door as I leave our dorm. And I thought this would be no problem. Well, I'm sitting in class and all of a sudden I get a phone call. And by the way, yes, I do keep my phone on silent during class. And my phone was on silent, but come to find out, I actually didn't know this until this moment. But if someone in your contacts list calls you, if one of your contacts calls you, your phone will still ring. At least if you have an iPhone, it will still ring, even if it's on silent, if it's one of your contacts. And I think that's a setting. And I guess it was turned on by default, and I didn't know that even was a thing. So I learned that the hard way, but I was confused why my phone was ringing because I had put it on silent. But anyway, I picked up my phone to see who it was. I was not going to answer in the middle of class, but I wanted to at least see who it was. And it's Becky. She was trying to FaceTime me. I declined it because I was sitting in class. Also, this is not really relevant to the story, but it's just a funny thing I thought I'd add. I was in music theory class when this happened, and my professor, when my ringtone started playing, my professor played my ringtone on the piano, which I actually thought was hilarious. That's not relevant to the story, though. That was just like a funny little thing. But Becky was trying to FaceTime me, but I declined it, and I went on our group chat because I was gonna send a text and say, hey, sorry, I can't talk, I'm in class. And that's when I realized that all of my roommates are trying to reach me. And so I was like, oh no, like what's going on? And come to find out, Becky was big mad that I locked the door, and she was just coming back from a weekend at home, and she didn't bring her key with her, which, by the way, is not my problem. And so basically she was big mad about that because she was like, because I guess she thought I should have told her that I was going to start locking the door. So she was not very happy with me, and so she got the attention of my two other roommates. And also, by the way, Rachel, she was not even in our dorm at this time. She was at home because, like, she went home a lot. So she would spend periods of time at home, and at this point, she happened to be at home. And somehow Becky was able to get her attention and also Sarah's attention and get them all to basically gang up on me. And they were spamming the text, the group chat, because I was MIA, aka I was in class. I was literally sitting in class. It's not like I had, gone, disappeared from the face of the earth, but to them, apparently, I had disappeared from the face of the earth. But anyways, so they were spamming our group chat, our SMS group chat, and I hadn't heard these texts come through because my phone was on silent. And yeah, so basically at this point I knew that there was no actual emergency. Obviously, if there had been an emergency, obviously, I would have, done something. But this was definitely not an emergency. I didn't even need to be involved in this, because Becky could have just gone and gotten a spare key, which, by the way, apparently she did. I told her that, why don't you just get a spare key? I texted her that, and she said, and she made, a snarky comment. She was like, I know that, duh. And at that point, I'm just like, well then, if you know that, why did you even have to, involve me? I get that, it's kind of inconvenient to have to go all the way back downstairs to get a spare key. I get that, you might not want to do that in the moment. I can understand that. I would be a little bit annoyed if I was locked out and I had to go downstairs and get a spare key. But it's not enough. It's not enough, to call me about it, just go and do it and just deal with the slight inconvenience. We all have to be inconvenienced at times. Sorry, I keep getting texts. But anyways, we all have to, be inconvenienced at times, why not just suck it up and go get a spare key? And, why even, involve me in it? And, by the time she called me, by the way, she had already gotten a spare key, so it was, it was a moot point anyway. So basically, I decided to, sorry about that, I need to silence my phone. But basically, I decided to just kind of ignore it and just, finish up class, because I knew, like, it wasn't an emergency, you know, like, that could wait. And then after class is over, I go back to my dorm, and basically I start, so Becky and Sarah are not there for some reason. I don't know where they were at this point, but I continue, basically our conversation on text continues, and we were kind of just going back and forth on, like I was saying, like, hey, so I'm gonna start locking the door and stuff, and, like, I'm sorry that Becky got locked out, but, you know, I'm gonna start locking the door because I don't want us to get robbed. And Becky was like, no, like don't do that, you know, like basically Becky didn't want me to lock the door because I guess she didn't want to think about having to bring her key, which is just, like, you know, a really stupid reason to not want, like, I don't know, but we were kind of going back and forth on that. And then Rachel, she sent me a private text message, and this was one of the times when I, you know, this was actually a nice surprise. Sorry, I'm going to silence my phone. Okay. But basically, this was one of the times when I was reassured that, you know, I wasn't the crazy one. And this was a nice surprise. I was pleasantly surprised when I received this text. But Rachel texted me privately, and she told me that I did the correct thing, and that she was on my side. And it felt nice to have someone for once be on my side. Because, you know, like, even though, like, she was already polite, like, I already knew she was polite and she wasn't problematic like the other girls, like, she was actually on my side, you know. So that just felt really nice and reassuring. So yeah, so I appreciated getting that text from her. But yeah, so that incident kind of, you know, it basically, the argument just kind of ended, and, you know, we just kind of agreed to disagree, I guess. But I did, you know, make sure to make it clear to Becky and Sarah that I was going to start locking the door. And if they were going to have a problem with that, then too bad, I guess. So then a week later, we have an RA meeting about that, which I'm going to get into in a few minutes. But I'm going to kind of explain kind of the next thing that happens, which is within that week. So one day I walk into my room. This is like a few days later. I walk into my room and I can hear Becky and Sarah in their bedroom talking about me. And it's not like I was trying to eavesdrop, you know. Like, I literally walked in and I could hear them, you know, because the walls are thin, you know, you can hear, like, a pin drop in, like, the next room. So, like, it wasn't hard to hear them. And they were talking about me. They were clearly talking about me. And the things that they were saying about me were just, like, the most innocuous thing. Like, they were gossiping about some of the most innocuous things that I do. Like, they were gossiping about things that, like, why would you find this worth gossiping about? It's like, clearly they had nothing better to talk about. But I heard Sarah saying that, like, she was saying something about how I like to wear socks around our room. But, like, she was saying it in, like, a gossipy kind of way. Like, she was saying it in a way like, can you believe Daniela? She wears these socks. And I was just thinking, like, seriously, that's what you choose to gossip about? It's like, what's wrong with me wearing socks? Like, I like I wear socks around like my home because I like wearing socks. I think they're comfortable. And it's like, why is that even worth gossiping about? Like, I don't know. I guess she thought it was cringy or something. But it's like, seriously, like, get a life. Like, grow up. Like, get a life, you know? Like, I'm sorry if that's cringy to you. Like, sue me. Like, I'm sorry. Sue me. Like, I wear socks. Like, how is that? Like, what? Like, I just couldn't believe, like, how, like, why, like, if they were gonna gossip about me, why did they land on that? Why did they land on that? And honestly, like, I wasn't even really doing anything, like, except for the times that, you know, I did things that they didn't like for whatever reason. But, you know, it's just like, are you kidding me? Like, but, like, for the most part, like, I was minding my own beeswax. So there really wasn't anything to gossip about me, like, to talk. There wasn't anything about me to gossip about, you know? But it's just like, come on, like, just get a life. Like, you really have nothing better to talk about. So, yeah. So I found it slightly amusing that, like, they chose to talk about the most, like, innocuous, the most innocent things about me. But also, on another hand, I just couldn't deal with the fact that they were gossiping about me. Like, if I had to walk in my dorm and hear that, like, that, in my opinion, is not, like, a good living environment, because that affects my mental health. Like, you know, like, if you're gonna talk about me, it's like, if I can't hear you talking about me and I don't know about it, then I don't care, because, like, if I, like, ignorance is bliss, I guess. But I don't want to walk into my home, because my dorm at that point was basically my home, you know? I don't want to walk into my home and hear that about me. So, like, I definitely was starting to see, like, this is not, like, good for my mental health at all. And anytime we got into a conflict, like, it would typically, in one way, affect, like, not only my mental health, but also, like, my academics. Because, like, I would be sitting in class and I wouldn't be able to focus because I would constantly be thinking about, you know, the drama. So at this point, like, I was realizing, you know, like, I don't think that I can make this work, you know? So then, a few days later, we have that RA meeting. We have, like, this meeting was, like, 2 hours long. And, we were basically just airing out every single grievance. Basically, that was pretty much the premise of the meeting. So all 4 of us, we met with the RA in the study room, and we just kind of, you know, talked about things, talked about basically just all the conflicts we had and what we were going to do about it and all that. And I had decided in this meeting that I was going to stand up for myself, and I was done being the non-confrontational person, and I wanted to stand up for myself. So at one point in the meeting, I brought up, and this was the first time I had mentioned that I heard the gossiping about me. But I brought up in the meeting that I didn't appreciate having to walk into my room and hear myself being gossiped about. And when I said that, I was looking at Becky when I said that. And when I said that, the deer in headlights look that she had on her face was absolutely delicious. I saw that, like, she had this look in her eyes. And also, like, keep in mind, we were all wearing masks because we were required to wear masks anywhere on campus that wasn't, like, our dorm room. So we were all wearing masks. And I could tell, like, even though her face was covered with a mask, I could tell by looking at her eyes that she was like, oh no, Daniela heard us talking about her, oh no. And I just, like, it was so satisfying just looking at that deer in the headlights look on her face, because, like, I had caught her off guard. And at this point, I had already known that, like, I did not like this girl. And I'm someone who likes to give the benefit of the doubt. And I had tried in the beginning to give them the benefit of the doubt, even on the first incident when they left me behind in the middle of the night. Like, even then, like, even, like, before I started to, like, really feel hurt, like, I was telling myself, Daniela, like, they left quickly, like, you missed the memo. They weren't trying to leave you out. It was just, like, they left too quickly for you to realize, you know? Like, I give people the benefit of the doubt, but I was done giving this girl the benefit of the doubt. I was just done. And it takes a lot for me to hate someone. And I hated this girl. I was, like, at this point, I had already admitted it to myself. Like, I did not like this girl. And so it was so satisfying just being able to catch her off guard and confront her like that. So then, after the big RA meeting, we go back to our room. And this is kind of when the next thing happens. This is another instance of leaving me out of something, but I feel like this was a little bit, like, this was, like, more, I feel like this was a bigger deal than, like, the first few times when they left me out of stuff. So basically, this kind of all starts a few weeks before. So this was, like, getting close to, like, the holidays. And so one day, Sarah texted on our group chat, and she said, hey, I have an idea. We should do a gift exchange for the holidays. And I texted back, you know, that's a great idea. Let's do it. And I didn't say anything other than that. And I genuinely thought that was a great idea. And, you know, the fact that she brought up that idea, you know, I thought that was a nice thing, you know. I thought that was a nice idea, you know, like, maybe it could help us, like, reconcile, like, put our differences aside, and we could just do, like, a nice little gift exchange for the holidays, you know. Isn't that what the holidays is about, you know, like, putting aside your differences and just, you know, enjoying each other's company and doing fun gift exchanges like that? You know, I don't know. So I thought that was a great idea. But after I responded, I don't hear anything else about the idea for several weeks after that. So I had assumed that, you know, maybe they just forgot about it, you know, maybe it was just, you know, an idea that she threw out there, but, you know, nothing came of it, you know, whatever. I didn't think much of it. It was just kind of, you know, I thought it was forgotten about, you know, so basically whatever. Well then, cut to coming back to our room after the big RA meeting, and I find out that they did not, in fact, forget about the gift exchange. They did it, but they left me out of it. And the thing is, you know, like, the reason why I feel like this is different than, like, the first time is because, like, you know, it's one thing to just leave someone out, you know, never invite them, you know, never, like, mention anything to them until, like, after it's over. But the fact that, you know, Sarah actually texted on our group chat about this idea, and I saw this text, and, like, I, at that time, was under the impression that it was all four of us, because she put this on our group chat with the four of us. You know, I thought, like, she was including me in it. And then come to find out that, like, the reason I hadn't heard anything about it was not because they forgot about it. It was because they probably, I don't know for sure if they did, but I highly suspect that they did. But they probably had a group chat without me and were texting about it on there. That's what I'm guessing probably happened. Basically, we came up to the room and I saw that there was a gift for them on each of their desks. And there was nothing for me. And so I was hurt, but unfortunately I was not surprised. I was not surprised, sadly. And not only that, but one of them had decided to go out and buy a tree for our dorm. And the ornaments that were on said tree, there were 3 ornaments on the tree, and each one had their initials on it, their first initials. So there was one ornament with each girl's initials, with each girl's first initial on it. But there was none for me. So that was like, having to walk in and see that every day was like a constant reminder that I was not welcome in their group. And at this point, I was starting to accept that. I was starting to realize that, like, no matter how hard I try, these girls are not going to be, they don't want to be friends with me. And I mean, I didn't want to be friends with them either, like, especially if what they were doing was going out and smoking together and all that. You know, if that's what they like to do, that's great, you know, like, you do you. But I personally do not engage with that stuff, and so I don't want to hang out with people who do, or at least I don't want to, like, hang out in situations where people are doing that, because that's just not my cup of tea. And so these girls were not my cup of tea anyway. However, you know, even though I was realizing that clearly these girls didn't want to be friends with me, it's just not very pleasant to walk into your room and have a constant reminder of the girls that don't want to be friends with you and the fact that you're not welcome in a group. It's not a very pleasant thing. And especially during the holidays, when it's common to, you know, set aside your differences and, like, it's all about, like, you know, enjoying each other's company. And the holidays are one of my favorite times of the year, if not my favorite time of the year. And I just thought I don't know, I just thought it kind of, like, ruined. I mean, it didn't ruin the entire holiday season for me, but, you know, it was just, like, especially, like, because that's, like, my favorite time of the year, like, it was just kind of unfortunate that, like, that came with a constant reminder. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So that was not very fun to walk in and discover that. So yeah. But then, shortly after that, I went home for the holidays, and I was home for 2 months. So I was home, I basically, my holiday break is, like, about a month and a half, I think, but I was home for 2 months because I had so basically for the first 2 weeks of the spring semester, most of my classes were online. So I decided to spend those 2 weeks at home, like living at home, and only going on campus when I had an in-person class. Because orchestra was starting up again, and I would need to be on campus for orchestra. But orchestra wasn't starting until the 3rd week of classes. So I decided to wait until the week that orchestra started to move back into my dorm. So, yeah. So basically, I was home for 2 months, and that time at home was a really nice break from my roommates. I just really enjoyed that time home. It was just so refreshing because, you know, I'm lucky to have a family that loves me, and I just felt really grateful, you know, to be home and away from my toxic roommate situation. And I knew that my family would never do the things to me that my roommates did to me. So I was just really grateful for that. And I did have a nice time at home. And it was really nice to just be at home and just be away from the toxicity for a while. But let's just say I was not looking forward to going back to the toxicity. So, yeah. So then I moved back into my dorm. And my parents are helping me move back in. And then this is kind of where things start to escalate a little bit more. So as my parents are helping me move back into my dorm, my dad commented that the room smelled like pot. And let me just say, I had been smelling that basically the entire first semester, but I didn't realize it was pot because the smell of pot isn't what you'd think that like a drug smells like, you know. I had no idea it was pot. I just thought it was like a weird smell. But my dad knew it was pot. My dad, by the way, is not like a druggie at all. The only reason he knew that was pot was because he happened to, like, he's been to parties before, like, he's been in situations like that when he was my age, and so that's the only reason why my dad knew that it was pot. So yeah, he's not like a druggie, he does not do drugs now, he's just happened to be in situations, where drugs were involved, you know, just, like, you know, going to like the odd party and stuff. So just putting that out there. But yeah, so my dad was like, it smells like pot. And once he said that, something clicked in me. I was like, oh no. Becky has been doing pot in our room. And my parents know that I do not do drugs. I'm not, like, that's just not my thing. So they knew immediately off the bat that, like, it wasn't me who was doing pot in the room. Because they know me very well. They know that I do not do drugs. It's just not my thing. And again, if you like to experiment with drugs, as long as you are not, like, being stupid about it, you know, you do you. Like, I'm not judging. I'm not judging, okay? You do what makes you happy, but when you're doing it in the vicinity of other people and it gives off a smell and people have to live with that, that is not cool, you know? Like, do it outside, you know? So that is when I realized that Becky had been smoking pot in our room for basically the entire semester, and I had no idea. And so my parents told me to not tell the RA, mainly because they wanted to protect me from being retaliated against, which I thought was very fair. My parents were always on my side, and they, as much as they thought that Becky deserved to be disciplined, I guess, or I guess as much as they thought that she deserved for, you know, someone to know about it, you know, my parents told me to not snitch just for my own safety, because if I told the RA, you know, my roommates could retaliate against me, and so I agreed, you know, to not say anything about it. And so that was the plan at first. I will get into it because basically it gets so much worse in the next few days. But yeah, so the plan was I was not gonna say a single peep about it. So that was the plan. So that night I was just minding my own beeswax, and I was the only one in the dorm that night. Actually, I don't remember if Sarah was there. I don't remember, but I know for a fact that Becky did not spend the night in the dorm, and I will get to that later. That's a very big part of the story. But I assumed, she was at home. I will get to where she was in a few minutes. So basically I slept in the dorm and all was well. And the next day, I was really excited for the next day specifically because it was the first day of orchestra. And keep in mind, I had not had like a real orchestra experience in almost a year at this point because it was Rona times. And Rona times were not very poggers, let's just say. And the entire fall semester, I was in orchestra, but we weren't doing like rehearsals and stuff because it was Zoom University. And so instead of having rehearsals, which are kind of difficult to do on Zoom, it's kind of difficult to play music together on Zoom because you got, delays and whatnot. So instead of doing like we did do like some like playing music, like we would record some things and we would upload it on BandLab, which is it's like a social media thing for musicians. And like so we did some like recording and stuff, but what we did in our regular meetings was we would go on Zoom and we would have like a guest artist or like a guest musician or basically someone in like the music industry come and basically be like a guest speaker. And that was all really cool and really interesting. But I was excited to get back into real orchestra. And so for the spring semester, we were going to do actual orchestra, socially distanced edition, but it was still more of an orchestra experience. So basically we were all split up into 3 different smaller orchestra groups, and so that way social distancing would be easier. And so then we would have socially distant rehearsals, and we would record our concerts. So we would play our concerts like all together, but instead of having a live audience, we would record our concerts, and it was virtual. So anyway, so that was kind of how orchestra worked during that semester. And also during our rehearsals, this is also like a crucial part of the story. During our rehearsals, we split our rehearsals into 3 half-hour blocks, and so we would have the first half hour. We would rehearse the first half hour, and then in the second half hour, we would all leave the room so that the room could air out, so that there wouldn't be any virus particles lingering around, and then in the third half hour we would rehearse again. So that part is very crucial to the story. So anyway, so I wake up the next day and I'm really excited to go to orchestra rehearsal. And so I get to orchestra rehearsal and I lock the door of my dorm when I leave, because I thought I had made it clear 3 months ago that I was going to start doing that. So I locked the door and I go over to rehearsal. I walk my happy little bootay into rehearsal, and I'm so excited to start orchestra again. Like, I had been missing orchestra so badly. Like, you guys have no idea. Like, I just needed orchestra again. I needed that, sense of community again. So I was just really excited. So I go into rehearsal, and then rehearsal's about to start, and then all of a sudden, my phone rings. And this time, I pretty much knew, I pretty much could guess what it was going to be about. And I was like, oh no, here we go again. So my phone rings. Obviously I decline it because I'm not going to answer in the middle of rehearsal. and it's Becky again. And basically, yeah, I didn't answer. But then we get through the first hour, or the first half hour of rehearsal, and then in the half-hour break, where the room is airing out, that's when I decide I am going to text Becky back. So I go and I leave the room, and at this point I'm outside of the music building, and I'm on my phone and I'm texting Becky, and I'm like, hey Becky, I'm sorry, I was in class, I couldn't talk, but what's up, I just wanted to make sure that, it wasn't an actual emergency. Even though I was pretty sure I knew why she was calling me, and I was pretty sure I knew that it was not going to be an emergency. And I was correct. She texted back and she was like, Daniela, the door is locked. And basically she was big mad about that again. And I was like, oh no, here we go again. This is not going to end well. So then I just kind of go back and forth. I don't remember exactly what I said, but we're going back and forth. And then I find out something very juicy. I find out that Becky was in jail. She was in jail she had been arrested for drug possession or something. I found all this out like a few days later, because my mom actually did some research and she found the police report. This girl, she got arrested for drug possession, and she spent the previous night in jail, and she had just been released and was going back to the dorm. So when I mentioned a few minutes ago that Becky was not in the dorm that previous night, that's because she was in jail. And Becky decided to use this as an excuse as to why she didn't have her key, which no matter what the reason was, it was still not my problem, She decided to tell me that the reason she didn't have her key was because she was like flustered or something about being arrested, that she wasn't thinking about her key. And that was all. I don't know what is going on. Someone is doing something next door. But anyway, that was all a bold-faced lie. And you know why? Because I later found out, through my mom sending me the police report that she found, I later found out that this happened, this did not happen in our dorm room. And if it did, I would have heard the commotion. I was there the whole time. I would have heard it. Yeah, this happened, while she was, outside, on the street or whatever. Wherever she was. This happened, outside of the room. So, she already didn't have her key on her way before she got arrested. So the fact that this girl got arrested had zilch to do with the fact that she didn't have her key. I just thought it was so hilarious how she tried to use that as an excuse, and no matter what her reasoning was, I did not care. It was not my problem, if you forget your key, literally just go and get a spare key, and don't involve me in it. Why do you have to make excuses? I just thought that was so hilarious. And also, she was trying to get me to pity her or something because she had spent the night in jail, and I did not feel any sympathy for her at all. And I'm an empathetic person. I'm a pretty empathetic person, but I felt zero sympathy for this girl because she got herself in that situation. I was not involved in the very least. And so why was she taking it out on me? She got herself in this situation. She was the one who was possessing an illegal drug. Which, by the way, I don't really care what you do. I really don't care. But don't try to blame me for something that you got yourself into. You know what I mean? And the other girls, even Rachel, she was siding with her. And it was just, yeah. So eventually, I had to go back to rehearsal after that half hour was up. So I eventually just stopped engaging in the conversation, and I go back to rehearsal. And at this point, I'm just like, I'm just not going to engage anymore. I was just completely over, like, being hurt by anything they did. And I was just not going to engage any longer. So I get back to rehearsal, and I was not going to let this get in the way of my orchestra rehearsal that I had been so looking forward to. Like, I was not going to let anything get in the way of that. So I get back to rehearsal, and I stop engaging, and, you know, everything basically goes fine for the rest of the day. Cut to the next day. I'm still minding my own beeswax. Literally minding my own beeswax. I go into music theory class. I get through music theory class, you know, everything is going well. I'm completely over, I'm just trying to, like, not be a doormat. That was my goal, is I was trying to not be a doormat, because the entire fall semester, I was so much of a doormat, and this time, I was not going to be a doormat. So, I get through music theory class and all that, I get through the day, and then, at some point in the day, I realize, the dorm GroupMe chat has been rather quiet today. I wonder why. And typically, you know, the GroupMe, like, it's pretty active, you know? People chat on there, like, pretty much all the time. It's rare for a whole day to go by and nothing to be on the group chat, you know? So I go and I check to see if I missed anything, and that is when I realize why I haven't seen anything. It's because I got kicked out. And this happened the previous day. And I didn't even realize it until, like, a day later. So I got kicked out of the chat, and at this point, I didn't really care about, like, trying to get back on, but I just wanted answers. I wanted to know what was going on. So I decide to privately text someone who is on the chat, and this person has, in the past, stood up for me when, like, people were being mean to me, so I felt like this person, like, I could trust this person. So I text him, and I'm like, hey, so I think I've been removed from the GroupMe, can you tell me what's going on? Like, can you go on the chat and see if there's anything going around about me? And so he goes on there, and he sends me the screenshots. And he was not, like, participating in any of the drama. He apparently he didn't even know that, like, there was drama going on until I mentioned that, you know, there might be drama going on. And so he went on the chat and he took screenshots of the things that people were saying, and he sent them to me, and he just told me, do with this information what you will. This is what's happening. And I very much appreciated his help, and the fact that he didn't, like, contribute anything to the drama. He literally just sent me the screenshots, and he was like, so this is what's happening, do with this information what you will. And let's just say it was bad. It was not good. People were spreading rumors about me on this chat. And they were taking things, and the thing is, the rumors were not exactly untrue, but they took something that happened the previous semester and took it way out of context and made it sound worse than it really was, and they were basically spreading all these rumors about me and talking all this crap about me, and it was not good. It was not good, and I'm not gonna, like, get into what happened, but I'm just gonna say that the stuff they were saying about me was not good. And so that's when I realized that it really was not worth trying to get back on this chat. It's like, I was better off, you know, not being on it if it was going to be this toxic environment. Like, it would have been better for my mental health to not be a part of this. So I stopped trying to get on the group chat. I was just glad that I had the screenshots, so I at least knew what was going on, because I at least wanted to know. So then I called my parents, because I was like, what the heck do I do? Like, oh, and also, by the way, I found out who removed me from the chat, and this time it was not Becky. Although I knew that Becky was behind this, because she kind of was the one who started all the drama. But this conniving girl, she got one of her friends to do her dirty work for me, because I guess the last time she removed me from the group chat, I found out it was her, and she was like, oh, I don't want Daniela to think it's me. So she got one of her friends to remove me instead. But I knew all along that she was behind this. I knew it. So then after I saw what people were saying about me, and after I saw all that, and I realized this was her way of retaliating against me from the previous day when she was big mad about being locked out. This was her way of retaliating by going and airing out all the dirty laundry and spreading rumors about me. And so at that point I was just like, I need to do something about this. Like, I cannot, I can't live with these girls anymore. So basically I called up my parents, because I wanted them to help me kind of figure out what to do about all this. So I called up my parents and I told them everything that happened. And then my parents, I told them, look, we need to figure this out. I can't live with these girls anymore. And actually, sometime during the fall semester, I had brought up wanting to move out, but my parents advised me against it, because they didn't want me, they didn't want people to find out that I was moving out and me being known as the girl who moved out of the room, and because she caused drama. They didn't want people to find out that I moved out of the room and assume that I caused drama, you know? So that was a fair point at that time. But this time, you know, I was like, I really cannot do this anymore. And this time my parents agreed. They were like, yeah, Daniela, this is not a good situation for you. However, we agreed that I shouldn't have to be the one to move out. It should be my roommates who should have to move out, because they were the one who was causing problems. It wouldn't be fair for me to have to go through the trouble of moving out because of something that I didn't even cause. You know what I mean? So my parents helped me set up an appointment with the, so basically we set up an appointment with me and my parents and my RA and the head of housing. And we showed them the screenshots, which at this point I realized another reason why it was good that I had those screenshots, because I had something to show the head of housing. I was like, so this is what people are saying about me, and my roommates have been spreading these rumors about me, and I just can't live with them anymore. And so basically, so we had a meeting, and so I showed them the screenshots, and so the head of housing was like, yeah, we should do something about this. So basically they told me that it would take a few days for to have my roommates move out, but in the meantime I could they had a separate room downstairs that was kind of meant for situations like this, and it was a single room, and it was kind of meant to be a temporary room for people to move into when they have situations like this. And no one was using it at that time, so they told me I could temporarily move in there if I want to. So I decided to do that. So I went and I went upstairs to grab all my stuff, like all my bedding and whatnot, and move them into this separate room. And I was only going to be in there for a few days. I was only going to be in there until my roommates had completely moved out. So I go downstairs, and also while I'm up grabbing my stuff, I walk into my room, and I hear in the other bedroom, I can hear my roommates watching one of my YouTube videos. So that was just fun, you know. They were clearly, you know, making fun of my YouTube videos, and I just did not want to listen to them do that. So I popped in my AirPods and I listened to music, so I didn't have to listen to them just absolutely destroy my YouTube video. Not that I care if people roast me, but like I didn't want to hear what these girls specifically were gonna say about my video. Not so much about the video, but more about me specifically. Like, I guess they thought I was cringy or something. And but it was more than just, I don't know, I just didn't want to hear them, you know, making fun of me in any way. So I listened to music to drown out them, you know, making fun of me. And I continued to move out my stuff. So then I got downstairs, and immediately once I was finally finished moving into the separate room, immediately I already started to feel a breath of fresh air, because like I was finally like in a place where I was away from my roommates. And not only that, but it was looking like I was going to be able to, I wouldn't have to live without them for 3 more months, you know, because that was something I was dreading. But we were only like a few days into the semester, and already it was looking like I wouldn't have to live with them after all. So I was looking forward to that. So already it felt like a breath of fresh air. And so in those few days, I continued to live my life, and also I had another meeting, but this time it was just me and the head of housing, so it was like a one-on-one like Zoom meeting. We had a meeting to like talk about more stuff, to kind of talk about like, you know, the decision that they came to, because like I guess it wasn't guaranteed. Also, I completely forgot to mention this, but we had also, in the meeting with me and my parents and the head of housing and all that, we also decided to disclose to them the situation with the pot, because while the plan was at first to not say anything about them smoking pot, we felt like in this instance, like it would help my case if we told them, hey, so my roommates have been smoking pot in the room, and like I can't live in that condition, you know. So we told them that. So anyway, so I have a meeting with the head of housing, and they told me that they had found another room to reassign to my roommates. So in the next few days, my roommates would be reassigned to that room. And so I was like, perfect, you know, like this is like, I was relieved that things were finally starting to move in the direction that I wanted. And it was just a big relief. So, but of course, like it wasn't going to happen immediately, because it would take some time, you know, for them to move out. So I was going to stay in that room for a few more days. So I spend the rest of the week in that room, and then I come home for the weekend so I can kind of take a break from, you know, thinking about all of this. And then I come back, and basically by the time I come back after the weekend, my roommates have already moved out, and I can basically move back in. So I moved back in, and also I don't think I said this earlier, but Rachel had also decided, she made the decision herself to live at home for the entirety of the semester. And honestly, I do not blame her because I don't think she wanted to be involved in that drama, and I don't blame her. So yeah. But she was also not going to be living with me because she was living at home. Becky and Sarah had been reassigned to another room. So yeah, so I basically moved back, and that was pretty much that. I had the room to myself for the rest of the semester, so that was great. And once I didn't have to deal with my roommates anymore, my room actually became like such a safe haven. So that was pretty much that, and that's pretty much where the story ends, I guess. Yeah. So that concludes my roommate horror story. I hope you guys have been thoroughly entertained by this video, and but I hope you guys also learned something from this video. I definitely learned a big thing from this experience, and this experience was definitely a learning experience, I must say. But yeah, I live in my own apartment now, and I could not be happier. Like, apartment life is where it's at. Living alone is where it's at, and you know, I love it so much. And so that's basically my story. So yeah, I want to, I guess, reiterate that just because someone is your roommate does not mean that you're going to instantly become BFFs. I guess my thought process was, you know, I figured, you know, since we would be spending a lot of time under the same roof, that we would just kind of naturally become BFFs, and we would eventually want to get an apartment together. But it did not happen that way, and I'm very glad that I'm not living in an apartment with them, because, you know, that would be my own personal nightmare, let's just say. So yeah, moral of the story, do not go random with your roommates. Do not. It's just not a good idea. So yeah, I don't really know like how to end this video, because like this was such a big story, and there was so much in the story that I feel like it's just like kind of abrupt to end this video, but I do have to end this video at some point. So I guess like I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys like took something out of it. And if you guys are about to move into your dorm, you know, I hope this video kind of gave you like a different perspective. And you know, I don't want to like scare you or anything. I don't want to say that this is definitely going to be your experience, because some people do have really great roommate experiences. And if you have had a great roommate experience, that's great. You know, I'm so happy for you. And if you're about to move into your dorm or something, because I'm sure many of you watching this are about to enter that life, that new chapter in life, you know, I just want you to think about like the fact that you're not guaranteed to become BFFs with your roommate, and like I want you to learn from my experiences. And yeah, you might have a great roommate experience, and if you do, that's wonderful. But I just want to share with you guys that that's not guaranteed, and to not like let yourself, you know, be let down or disappointed by that, or to not like I don't know, I guess I just want you to like be prepared for the worst, you know. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video and took something out of it. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you didn't enjoy it, give it a thumbs up anyway because it helps the algorithm. I don't know if it actually does, but I'm just going to say that. So anyways, yeah, I guess that is pretty much it. And I will see you guys, the subscribers and viewers, in my next video. Peace out, y'all. Woo!